select board, you just put it in the budget. I mean, yeah, you have a policy around this, and even if it's been revised from the earlier version, which was still,
Yeah, right.
Friday was focused on getting the packet done. Today was focused on getting today's stuff done. Tomorrow is focused on getting the questions answered from last week. So, by Wednesday, I'll have sort of a response to that. Like, here's the actual version of that policy. And my suggestion would be, you make a motion and add that to my list.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I think it was they were being shy, like, but they also didn't understand. I think, so anyway. But she said if it's not too late, great.
Yeah, we must have gotten a lot. Let me know when you guys are ready, because we're after the hour. Well, he's sleeping right now. He's home.
Really here mentally. Yeah.
I was saying his
body might be.
his flight got into Boston at 6 a.m. this morning, and he worked all day.
And he called me.
Yeah, I talked to him too.
Okay.
He's
Like, what are you doing?
it's like, I'm gonna go home, take a nap, and come to the meeting. And then he texted me later and said, I can't.
So, Daryl said that they were testing the water from the flood yesterday, and he was pretty sure that some of it was from Newcastle.
Wait, they're testing the water.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you guys keep your half of the water over in Newcastle?
Yeah.
Sure. I was like, you should just dig canals, be the Venice of the mid-coast, just embrace it. Yeah, right? It's cheaper than lifting everything. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a solid advice. Solid advice. Yeah, right. Well, we're not the ones that built our town 2 feet too low.
Well, when they built it, it wasn't 2 feet too low.
No, I was
200 years ago.
back in January talking with Belknap, who used to own where the river road used to be Belknap's Hardware when I was a kid. And
Yep.
he said only, I think, once in the whole time that he owned the building. And that was,
Ready?
he probably owned it for 20 years.
Oh.
Jeff, you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
It's a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah, good. All right. Let's call the March 11th, 2024 meeting to order. It is now 7:06, and I'll start with the amendments to the agenda. Do we have any tonight? Nope. All right, then on to the minutes from February 26, 2024. Do I have a motion to move by Tor? Oh, I'll try to speak louder. Do I have a second on the minutes?
I will second.
First by Rufus. All right, does anybody have any questions or corrections?
Nope.
Nope. All right, then all in favor of accepting the minutes from February 26? Passes 4-0, 1 absent. Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda tonight? Nope. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to new business A, which is banking. I guess you want to give the background on that.
I can give a
Kevin?
little bit of a background on this, and I'm just gonna, for the sake of public conversation, put it on to our Zoom as well. Oh, I gotta get screen share. All right, now, I'll just, I'll mention this. So, a while back, I started approaching our bank about increasing our interest rate on our large cash amount, nearly $3 million. I was met with hesitation and only recently had some contact with powers that be at Bank or Savings Bank. So in that interim time, I reached out to a few other banks. Was pretty satisfied with what First National had offered. I think it will result in about another $40,000 additional interest for the town of Newcastle. Our purchasing policy doesn't specify that I have to go to bid for professional services, but I do want council support moving, or select board's support moving forward with this. I brought this to the finance committee's attention a couple weeks ago as well. They were fully supportive of it. And the individual who would be responsible for the transition is all for it. She's worked with First National when she was with another town. So I think it would behoove us not to make this transition. A bunch of the other additional benefits that come with it include a lot of the free stuff that private companies don't get, so, like checks and
Which we're currently paying
Paying
for. Yeah.
yes, yeah, there's a lot of additional benefits that would be,
You mentioned that we pay for deposit slips.
Yep.
That's
Crazy.
a little absurd.
Yeah.
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 it is.
and if we want to integrate, and I know Bangor provides this too, it's the scanning system, so we don't have to deposit, we can do deposit in-house rather than having to take it over to the bank right away, so. As soon as we scan it in, it becomes part of our account.
No, their online banking is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to explore it, but I would like your support. The sooner the better. That's why it's on there with a motion on there tonight. Otherwise, you are welcome to postpone and think more about it, or
I'm in favor. I have one question, is the 4.2, does Bangor, will they match that?
they won't. I got 3.99, 75 points on 3.99.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting anywhere near what I can.
And they're not necessarily willing to knock the fees off all the checks and deposits and all that.
I don't think so, given how it's been. My first contact with them was back in October about this, and my most recent one was January.
Okay.
So even if I go back, delay the change, that potentially leaving more money on the table. I did meet with Bangor bank representatives at beginning of last week. Yeah, on election day, because Michelle couldn't join me for the meetings. So I met with them on my own.
So a motion to support the town manager.
Are there any fees associated with the transition? I'm just curious.
No cost there.
Yeah.
The cost is Michelle's time.
Okay.
Is it pretty big or no, not too bad? All right. Any other questions? No,
I'm in favor of
then do I have a motion to support the manager's
Yeah.
decision?
I'll move that we support the manager's decision to move banks,
Yeah,
move money
Thanks.
from Bangor Savings to First National Bank.
I'll second that.
Second, this, any other questions? No, all right, then all in favor? Yep, so four with one absent.
Thank you. Somebody will have to make a motion to amend the revenue line in our budget for,
To allow more money to come
yes,
in?
yes.
Okay, good. Oh, that'll be tough. All right, let's see, new business 5B, undesignated fund balance policy. Right, let's see, I know we talked about this tour, your memo was great.
Thanks.
Like, I couldn't even think of anything else to add. You covered everything that I could think of.
So I just had a little highlighted change in the red line draft that I wanted to add in there. And that specifically gets to, and we'll touch it on the budget conversation shortly, but that gets to what I'm be recommending is where it's a one-time increase, if it's a one-time increase for a one-time expense, allowing use of fund balance for that, but that was my clarification within the language that you provided.
So this is kind of going back to the conversation that we had about the cost for the presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, for example.
Yep.
Yeah.
The $2,000 additionally needed in a presidential election year
Mhm.
is only a once every 4 years event. So it's operational cost that temporarily balloons in
Mhm.
1 year.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where I'd say use fund balance for that expense. Obviously, the other option is you just increase the budget by that 2,000 and then you spend it somewhere else in the budget in the next year.
There is one thing on the not acceptable to be used for the following line to be
Mhm.
depreciating assets and durable goods such as department apparatus, repairs and maintenance. Would an emergency repair be allowed in that circumstance? I just don't want to hamstring.
Mhm.
You know, obviously routine repairs.
Right.
i.e. maintenance, but
Well, any spending of undesignated fund balance is a decision of the board.
Okay.
So I can come to you and say, this is an emergency.
Mhm.
you know, say the roof blows off of the townhouse.
Great, yeah. Then we're getting a new town office.
Right, yeah,
Um,
I meant roofing.
yeah. Oh, see. Yeah, my first goal would be to, in that situation, my first goal would be to say, where in the budget can I currently steal from and have you guys approve the change to pay for that expense? Then it would be going to the undesignated fund.
Where is emergency in here?
It isn't.
There isn't, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
should we have it explicit in there?
Well, I did leave, I mean, in the policy, it does say in the next paragraph, or in the paragraph before enactment. I think I can share it.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think
the
this-
third
Yeah, it
bullet,
does, it
the
does.
Yeah, it
third
says-
bullet
it
point.
says, however, the select board
Yeah.
reserves the right to appropriate funds from the
Yep.
undesignated fund balance for emergencies and other requirements the select board believes to be in the best interest of the town.
We thought
You
we
know,
read it.
the way I see it is if we have at least some framework here, the town manager.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, he's running through the budget before us. And he has at least something he can refer to, that we all agree on. That's the way I see it, but I think in general, anything can come to the board for us to reassess, you know.
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
that was my.
Yeah. I guess it's policy, it's not
Right.
in stone, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay. Great.
You guys have the authority to override your own policies.
but
Or just change them to your
Okay.
preference.
yeah, I saw it more as a philosophical guideline.
Yep.
You know,
Mhm.
that's-
No, I
Really
think it's
well.
helpful. I think it's extremely helpful to flush it out better.
Okay, anybody have anything else on them? No. Sure. Come on down.
All right, just a quick question, was this, was the list intended to be a priority list? As in, if two such things come up simultaneously, which one gets priority? Is this intended to help guide that conversation?
If they're both on the list of acceptable things. No,
Let's say,
no,
I wouldn't say this is a priority.
No.
This is just a list of accepted.
would it be helpful to have it be in a priority list? I only ask because we could have great conversations about town festivities and entertainment that benefit the residents of Newcastle. And someone can make an impassioned plea for spending money out of the undesignated fund balance for that, when we really need to do some survey work for a road that's falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, I see the point, but I think in conversation, I think my take on that would be the emergency or whatever has safety, you know, safety concerns immediately is a priority. So I think roads, you know, some kind of road repair would probably fall into that. But I think in my mind, like the big separation is the difference between spending money on depreciating assets
Mhm.
and you know,
invest.
investing in something moving progressive investment.
And making it clear that we don't use the undesignated fund balance to reduce the mill rate.
Exactly. That's the big point too.
Thank you.
I also think if the policy holds and there's a board, which would be scary to me, a different board sitting in front of me, the policy holds. The priorities of what those are, I don't necessarily want to be bringing the policy forward every time priorities change. That'd be my recommendation for just keeping it this way.
Mhm.
Here's a list of what's acceptable. Ultimately, the board's going to decide what that money gets spent for. Right? Or if it becomes part of the budget process, it goes to a special town meeting to allocate additional funds because we need to do something we didn't think of with the budget process.
I also feel like trying to prioritize this list might be my most of the time. I
For
don't know,
today?
I mean, just seeing all the things that we have on the agenda, this could be hours of discussion over
And-
priorities versus in the moment discussion of, okay, is it more of a priority to survey the road in Spearfair or
Mhm.
Thorpe?
Mhm.
That seems like maybe a discussion that's had in the moment.
Throw a party.
Right, obvious. Yeah.
All right, then if there's no more discussion, do I have a motion to amend the undesignated fund balance policy as presented?
Yeah, so moved.
Moved by Tor, seconded by Thomas. Some other discussion, all in favor?
Yep.
Passes 4-0, 1 absent. All right. New business 5C fiscal year 2025 budget presentation. Kevin, this is all you.
And thanks. I'm sorry to the select board members who were in attendance last Wednesday, as well as one of the members of the finance committee who are getting to see this presentation again. There are some modifications due to a couple of number changes from what I presented on Wednesday to today. But I wanted to make sure that this documentation was presented tonight and available online for viewing public. This presentation includes a handful of areas I'd like to discuss: a quick introduction to municipal budget, functions of government, how we pay for it, the budget meeting schedule, reviewing the budget book. Yeah, we created a binder this year with a lot of information, and a summary of some of the numbers that are included. So what is a municipal budget? It's all of the expenses and revenues that the town of Newcastle needs to provide quality services for its citizens for a full fiscal year. What's a fiscal year? That's July 1st through June 30th. The year is represented by the last day of that fiscal year. So this budget that we're talking about now, fiscal year 2025, goes from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. What is the property tax rate? The town calculates taxes by dividing the net of expenditures minus non-property tax revenues by the total assessed value of the town. And I'll further explain what that is shortly, but what is the mill rate? The mill rate is the property tax rate per thousand of property value. So for fiscal year 2024, the mill rate was $16. The median home assessed value for all residential properties in Newcastle was $287,349. So that number divided by 1,000 is 287.35 times 16. This is what the median home paid in taxes is paying for taxes in fiscal year 24, or $383 per month. All right. So the functions of government, it's a broad interpretation, but government to me has three functions: education, public infrastructure, and public safety. So government's in the place to create order and allow all the opportunity to live happy, healthy, and successful lives. Education is the key to the future strengths of a community. Public health and life safety, this is police, fire, code enforcement, provide a sense of security for a community to feel safe and trust that they are supported by something bigger. Public infrastructure, those roads, bridges, water, sewer, parks. This is the infrastructure which allows us to get from point A to point B and to enjoy the in-between. These three primary functions as a percent of the fiscal year 24, FY24 fiscal year approved budget. Education was 49% 8.3% of the budget. Public infrastructure is about 30% of the budget, and public safety is 911, which is a unique number. These three functions represent 88% of the total budget. They're supported by administration, what I call it, and this is your elected officials. Where's your gavel, Karen?
I don't own one.
Oh, you mean Joel didn't give you a gavel?
Didn't.
Oh, this would be your town clerk, your assessor. Now I found all these for free online, so I'm just kind of making up what the departments are here. This is finance or treasurer. That's town manager. This is IT and planning and development. I believe what I made that one. But, this represents 11% of the budget. So how do we pay for all this? In Maine, primarily with property taxes. So the assessed value for fiscal year 24 Newcastle is just over $335 million. Total annual budget for the town is nearly 7.2. So there's non-property taxes that are generated or revenues bring that amount that's needed to pay for property taxes to 5.5 million. So I simplified the math here, and I just said $5.5 million divided by 335 million gives you a mill rate of 1642. And just to compare, our current mill rate is 16. So I'm just using some rounded numbers. So the median home, in this case, a $290,000 home, would pay $396 per month, or nearly $400 per month. So I've got a couple scenarios here. So how would a reeval, because we've talked about this at a prior meeting, we talked about revaluation, and what is the effect of that? Well, let's hold the budget flat. In theory, this would lower the mill rate, but would keep taxes the same. In the simplified math, still, this is our constant. So this serves as like just keep this in mind. So all property taxes are increased by 10% to better align with market value. So what does that do? It lowers the mill rate. However, that median home has also gone up 10%. So it's about $2 less per year just by doing the rounding. The decimal places out. It ends up being about $2 less, or essentially the same. So yes, the mill rate has come down, but the value of the home has gone up, but it keeps the taxes the same. Now, scenario 2, costs rise, taxes rise. So assume a 4% increase in the budget and no change to the assessed value. Simplified math, there's our constant again. So now the 5.5 has gone up to 5.72. The assessed value has stayed the same. The mill rate has gone up. The median home is still $290. So they're paying $412 per month. Or in a given year, $188 more. Scenario 3, costs rise, building happens. What about taxes? So assume a 4% increase on the budget. There's no change to existing value, and there's a 4% increase in the value from new construction. Constant is that same scenario. This has an increase of 4% on the budget, and it also has a 4% increase on the assessed value. That mill rate is the same. There are no changes in taxes. So scenario 4, costs rise, more building happens. What about taxes? So now assuming a 4% increase in the budget, no change to the existing value, there's a 5% increase in the value from new construction. Constant, 1642. The actual is showing a 1626. So now they're paying $392 per month, or about $50 less per year. So what does that tell you? Or the question is municipal government is in the real estate business? And I would argue that they are, especially in a state where property taxes are heavily relied on to pay for services. So it's prudent to keep an eye on the operating budget and to ensure efficient use of taxpayer dollars. But what ultimately keeps the mill rate stable while continuing to provide quality service to the residents is for municipalities to see a rate of improvements that is in line with or occasionally outpacing that of the cost of operations. So what can you do to help support new value in your community, support Newcastle, support smart growth in our town? Tell friends once we've fixed the housing crunch, move here.
tell friends who own businesses to consider expanding. Tell colleagues to start a business in Newcastle. Don't tell my staff to start businesses because I really like my staff and I don't want to change. Start a business in Newcastle, shop, dine, live, swim, walk, bike. Love it here. Get involved, make a difference. So, all right. That's the theory stuff I want to get out there because I think it's important in the context of a budget, is knowing that it isn't just what we put down on paper and say, this is what you got to pay. It's everybody pitching together to make the town as best it can be. Budget meeting schedule. There's 3 workshops with the select board and 2 select board meetings with involvement here and 2 additional select board meetings in April. We already had our first workshop. That was last Wednesday. And I was grateful to see and actually interact both with the finance committee and the select board at the same time, run this presentation. So I'm again, sorry you're going through it again. But as well as touch into some of the line items and changes that I was proposing. Tonight's select board meeting, just presenting the budget. We have public safety and public works this Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we have reserve accounts, the debt service, and all the other little ancillary things I'd like to discuss with you, including potentially where the school budget is going to land. I hope to have some numbers for you then. And then ideally, we're talking about amendments to the budget on the 25th, and then get some community input on the 8th, and then include the warrant articles for the 22nd, and that's in time to include it in the town report. So I just said all those things that are here. I don't think, yep, I said all those things already, so I can keep going. Workshop format, and what I envision is that there were questions during the meeting will be developed. So on our first meeting on the 6th, questions were developed. We're working on a memo to provide to the board and the committee. And then we'll post that online as well. This gives staff time to research and provide meaningful answers. So when questions came up, we may not have had the answer, or if we did, we're going to include it again as part of that, almost like a note taking from the meeting discussion. If select board members have motions for changes to the budget ahead of 325, I'll submit them to myself or Michelle during a workshop or to me via email, and we'll include those as part of the list of things that are being proposed for changes from the manager's budget. So same format, public safety, we'll review the Q&A the meeting. We'll talk about public safety, public works. We'll review the Q&A from the week before on the 20th. And these are the 4 areas I'd like to touch on the 20th. So reviewing the budget book. So it's a new approach this year. There's a 7-section budget book. We'll provided a hard copy in book form for your consideration. I think it'll be helpful for note taking, better understanding the big picture, and we hope it results in more in-depth conversations. There are 7 sections to this budget book. I want to touch on sections 2 and 3 first, and I'll come back to the summary documentation at the end of this. Municipal revenues and fees and municipal expenditures have headers that are the same. It includes a FY22 column. That's the audited numbers from what was actually spent in that fiscal year. And again, fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. This one has a little asterisk next to it because these numbers have not been independently audited at the time the budget book was developed. And again, that information doesn't necessarily negate its value in this budget book. It helps just inform the public that that's happening. This column represents what was approved at the town meeting in June of 2023 for fiscal year 2024, and it includes budget amendments made at the special town meeting in August of 2023. And that was a use of undesignated fund balance in order to cover ourselves while we paid for FEMA reimbursed or future reimbursements from FEMA project. This column represents what has been spent July 1st, 2023 through February 13th, 2024, because that's the date I pulled the data, and was used to make some of the assumptions for cost projections into FY25. That's its only value, is really just my use of projections. I don't know how helpful it is, and we can talk about whether it's valuable for the boards. This column represents what the town manager has proposed for expenditures and revenues for fiscal year 2025. This is the column where if you have changes you want to make, please make those recommendations in this column. So, and then I've included a net change that has both a dollar and a percentage amount. The first net change column represents subtraction of FY24 from the FY25. And that should be at 2025 manager column, and the second column percentage is the result of dividing the dollar amount divided by the FY24 budget column. So numbers in black are an increase to the budget. Negative amounts are in red, are a decrease to the specific budget line. Line item example. Here's an example of that. Budget 24 to 25. You can see in Trio software, and Trio software includes more than just Trio. It includes all of the software we use, including the email addresses, Adobe, Microsoft Office, and probably one or two other software. Oh, Zoom. Anyway, so but I found that we've been over budgeting in that account. So by adding up all of our expenses, I was able to shave about almost $6,000 off of that account. And then computer hardware, most of our hardware purchases are coming out of a reserve account for computer needs. So I'm zeroing that hardware line out. Our IT support has gone up a bit. So you'll notice in the budget book, there's numbers to the left. And I just kind of want to help everyone understand what they mean. These are numbers used in our software to code the accounts. So general government, which is the bottom line there, is 101. Cemetery maintenance, which is sort of a division of general government, is 70. And then the cemetery mowing contract is a line item within the division. So that cemetery mowing contract, if you look at it, this line item in our financial system is 101.70.02. So when I don't go to do the upload at the end of this process, it's less chance of an entry error. So it's an automatic upload once the numbers are set. Section 4 is reserve accounts. So this was initially shared with the board in December. Some updates have been made as part of the audit, and there's a whole section with all of those in there. But what I don't have in there, and I'd like some advice or some recommendations about language for what their purpose is. So if money is allocated for it, I know specifically what that money might be allocated for and what the monies can be used for. So that will be helpful. And then the capital improvement and asset inventory. So this section currently has 3 components showing our inventory side of it. I haven't finished the 10-year plan, and I will definitely have that well before the 20th, so you have it before we meet and discuss it. Priorities, and again, as priorities and needs change and unforeseen circumstances prevent the best laid plans, this should be reviewed and updated on an annual basis as part of the budget process. So something that might be in there for this year, that's in year 3, 5, 6, might not be, it might move up or it might move further out just based on priorities and needs of each board and the town. This section contains will contain 3 subsections. The county budget and Newcastle's financial share, the GSB community school district, and adult education is in there. And now there's proposal to change that from a community school district to a resident or RSU regional school unit.
Mhm.
Well, so there's a lot of changing parts right now, and that's why this has not been populated. Excuse me, but I hope to by the end of the month. And then the last section is the provider agency requests. This includes all of the letters that were sent to us with requests for funding. And then all of the information that was shared is here in this link. And then I'm going to jump back to manager's memo and summary documentation. There's a memo in the front of the budget book, which complements, well, this presentation complements that memo. So it's only a 2-page memo. The summary documentation, 7 sections in the budget. Looking at those 7 sections, this is the difference. It's actually 1% decrease, but that's misleading because there's a lot of use of fund balance in the first year, and there's a smaller amount of fund balance being proposed in the next year. And it's great enough to show a negative or a reduction in the budget. However, so I'm just quickly running through these. It starts in this corner here with the 733,000. That's general government. It runs around this way. And it runs on the 101, 102 is community and public services. Planning and development is a small green slice, jumps to public safety, public works, debt service, and finally our transfer amounts to other reserve accounts. A big portion of that is our road program. This is the managers. So you can see the shift, just switching between the managers requested and last year's expenditure budget. So it has shifted some. All right. Now this removes the one-time use of fund balance to show a more accurate change in annual operations. This is a 5% increase in the budget. It was a little lower last week, only because I hadn't fully incorporated some recommendations from our road commissioner and our fire chief. I've reviewed those numbers and will present sort of what's changed at our next meeting when we meet with both public safety and public works. But this is the proposed budget I'm giving to you.
Mhm.
Here you go. And I have updated pages with me. I know everyone can bring their binder. I'll give them to you on Wednesday. If you brought your binder, I'll give it to you now, or after the meeting. Look at you, Karen.
Brought my binder.
All right. All right.
Good.
Rufus. 2 for 4.
I've
Oh,
done
3.
mine.
You got, no,
Nope.
you all did.
All
We
right.
have to look at
All
us.
right.
Stand it out.
Great. Awesome. I already replaced Joel's because I wasn't able to give it to him last
Yep.
Wednesday. So awesome. You'll all get your new pages. They'll be envious. Everyone else will be envious of you. All right. So and now the pie chart's not showing use of fund balance in either. It's just information. What's changed? I also show a chart of net changes. So you see a growth in 101, which is general government. 102 has a little bit of a growth, and that's the community public services. 103 is your planning and development. That most of that drop is because we've already paid for and are not going to again for broadband.
Right.
A big piece of that. The 105 is public safety. It's up just a little bit. And then public works is the largest, and this is in part because of our plowing contract for our roads, not the downtown contract, but the plowing contract for the roads has gone up significantly. We finished a 5-year contract. That's discussion for Wednesday. 110 saw a little drop. 110 is can't recall off the top of my head. That's debt service. That's right. Every year it goes down a little bit. We haven't borrowed again for anything yet. And 118 is our a slight increase on transfer to reserves. And I also provide this slide. This is my best guess at our education budget. It represents just slightly less than 50% of the budget. And education municipal is 44%. So the other 6%-ish is county share. So this municipal budget includes 52,000 use of reserves to cover the contingency account and additional expenses for the presidential election. 50,000 is in the contingency account because I don't know if I've cut too deep in some places. We'll need to ask the board to allocate. I'm also concerned about the severity of the storms we've been seeing. And I want to have a place where I can ask the board to, pay for this, what would normally follow the public works budget, pay for that out of the contingency account or move contingency money into that account to offset that storm. Storms have ranged from anywhere from $5,000 expense to $30,000 this year. So I just want to kind of,
Or building a bridge.
well, that's
I mean,
yeah, it could be anything. And I'm just starting with 50. We'll go from there. But, and that's a conversation about whether or not that's a good use of reserves or not. I just wanted to try it out for a year and see if that's a good model. And then the school budget, it's an estimate, a lot more concrete information by the end of March. So this presentation and all of the sections and future editions edits will be available on the town website. It's under government, over to town manager. There's a column called fiscal year 2025 budget. This link take you to it. Here's a visual of what it looks like. There's the budget presentation that I just shared tonight, budget memo, revenues and fee schedule, expenditures, reserve accounts, capital improvement, and asset inventory. Don't have a section 6 yet, but it will be in there. And then section 7 is the provider agency request letters. As more information comes, I'll add it to this. If members of the public are interested, our annual reports can be found here. Our audited financial statements can be found here. And so can all of the manager reports that I provide as a subsection of our agendas is also here. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Good,
Nice.
thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
And I got something out of it the second time too, Kevin, so. It was good to hear again. All right, then, yeah, oh, yes, sorry, come on. Yeah, we missed you at the workshop, Mel.
Snarled and other things.
That's what we figured.
What percentage of our valuation, current valuation, is not market sensitive, as in tree growth, for instance, which is probably the largest element of that. And a related question, when you're reporting to the state, how does property which is not taxed at all enter the picture in terms of how certified assessment ratio is calculated? Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Obviously, I can't answer those tonight on the floor, but I will get back to him with the response, share with him.
Good. All right. So then moving on to unfinished business 6A, our March 25th, 2024 special town meeting warrant articles. All right, let's catch up here. All right, so on the 25th, we're looking at. See, we have to put on there the fireworks ordinance, the finance committee ordinance. Is that it, right?
Nope. We have 5 articles.
Oh, yep, then the
Well, 4 articles.
the fire truck.
Yep.
Then the financing of a fire truck and
Reallocation.
the ARPA funds. Yep. The remaining ARPA funds. Yep. How do you want to handle this, Kevin? We want to go through them all, or
I mean, I think we've
covered
yeah.
most of them.
I'm dull to the idea of watching fireworks or talking about fireworks again. So
We've
kind of-
covered that one. Finance
Right,
committee
and
ordinance.
yeah, I'm
Um,
going to include a memo tomorrow for each of these items that go with the warrant, but fireworks is just a cleaning up of the document.
Yep.
That's all it was. There's maybe some grammatical changes, but nothing that impacts the ordinance as written.
Right.
The finance committee ordinance just modified a few elements to it. And actually shrunk the size of it, but also wrote it so that they're working with me rather than reporting to and taking all direction from select.
To work with our current form of government.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. The
Fire truck.
fire truck, we discussed at our last meeting, some of the challenges around not waiting till annual meeting has to do with the assurance that we're going to be able to get this price. Concerns about timeline and the engine type of engine that would be preferred. So that's the reason why it's on the special town meeting and not on annual town. Also, just obviously costs continue to go up. Fire trucks, so we want to get in sooner rather than. And then I added a 5th one. This is our 5th article. It's the 4th item. This item, I had Michelle drafted a great memo that I think was really beneficial in explaining to the board what this is. But essentially, We have a little bit of money left over from ARPA, about 24,000. What's written in a town meeting from 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, said that it should be used for these categories. What is now, there's more uses that are allowed, including emergency natural disasters. We had one in December. It did not get the, well, it got submitted. I submitted that to the state, federal government, but our county didn't have a lump sum request that was large enough for us to be declared. So it's about $35,000 of a storm in December 18th. And now the hope is that if we allocate this money to offset that, we have a few additional dollars this year to take care of some of the remaining storm damage cleanup. I've gotten some calls from residents who have culverts that are blocked up from all of the rain we've been getting and ditches that are destroyed. So I'd like to be able to use that funding to help offset some of those needs this year. And the federal government did change in their final rule. They do allow that. So
Yep.
this would be a chance to essentially modify the list to include this and then look to reallocate those funds to this need.
That sounds good to me. Anyone have any questions?
Mm-mm.
The rest of the money, yeah. All right, then do I have a motion to establish a special town meeting for March 25th at 7 PM here in the community room of the fire station at 86 River Road, including all 5. Why do you have the first 4?
Fifth like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did I
are-
write?
You have,
All five
including all
slash
5 / the first 4.
4.
Oh, because in case you wanted to drop, that was an option.
Okay,
If you wanted to
To-
drop the 5th
Oh,
one,
the
I was
ARPA.
worried that,
okay.
you know,
No,
presenting to you without having
Yeah.
talked about it previously might be
Yeah.
of concern. So
okay, no, I think we're all good
all
with that.
5.
All right, so including all 5 articles and send notice to our Benjamin Fry to inform the inhabitants of the town of Newcastle of said meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Rufus, seconded by Tom. All in favor? All right, passes 4-0, 1 absent. Ben, you have your job in front of you.
I'll post it in the morning.
Please give me an hour or two to finish the memos.
I'll post it in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, moving on to 6B Shoreland Zoning Code and Map Updates. This was a lot to try to
I know, and that
absorb.
it is a lot to absorb, and I think the planning board has done a pretty thorough job reviewing the information. So this is more of a, all right, gut check. Are you ready to have them publicly notify or have a public hearing? Because we got to start putting the public notices out to meet state statute. So I did bring this to you in January as a heads up. Here it is. And I do have first round drafts. This was reviewed with the planning board, I want to say last month. End of February,
The map,
the map.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, 2 weeks ago. They made a few revisions, so this doesn't have all of the finalized revisions. Just waiting for the consultant to finish it. I should have it by Thursday when the public notices go out.
Okay.
I have to have it ready for them.
Yes.
But
Okay,
if you'd like to look, they're here.
okay, good. Yeah, we'll
There's
check
copies.
that out.
Um,
I mean, Michael gave a fairly detailed summary of everything.
he did,
Which was
yeah.
great.
I wish I could have that every time, but our timing is getting really tight.
Yep.
And I only have him 20 hours a week.
It looks like more than.
I mean, most of the changes were to conform to the state requirements for affordable housing.
No,
No?
No, that's
oh,
LD
the-
2003.
yeah, no,
Oh,
for
okay.
shoreland,
The shoreline stuff.
it's really just, it's a couple things. It's, to comply with, the state's chapter 1000 model shoreland ordinance.
Okay.
In order to do that, we did add a bunch of things we were missing, like definitions. We had to make a decision on, the big decision is, bumping timber harvesting. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's gonna go to the state, because that was
That
an
makes
option in the ordinance, the model. Reorganization, like Michael says here, and then, just changes to the map. So, to reflect better the districts that we sort of line up with the core zoning code a little bit better. We had, at least, we had two districts on the old shoreline zoning map that didn't correspond to any district at all. And one that wasn't even defined and was probably a remnant from long ago. So it's just cleaning things up.
Yeah.
The big conversation or decisions mostly revolve around, not really decisions, not huge. It revolve around the map and, should it be in this district or that district or whatever. So we had a lot of conversation about that. A really good meeting, 2 workshops ago about it. And the new map should be forthcoming. It's not a lot of change from the map,
It's not,
which is in the town office.
yeah, not one here, I guess.
It's just that the bubbles around the streams and the rivers and things like that, they're a little bit better defined because we have better map data. And we did make some recommendations about to clean up those it was mostly the downtown districts. So we consolidated them and we made them made sense and we made them line up. And we did propose a couple of changes because some things just didn't make sense at all. We can go over those at the public hearing when we have a big map. And everyone can see it easier.
Yeah, this is cut off. You have this on.
I have it online too,
Online.
a very large file.
Yeah.
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 Which I was like, I don't even present this right now. So I just quickly printed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For now.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions about it? If not, then do I have a motion to schedule a planning board public hearing on the proposed amendments to the shoreline zoning ordinance for March 28th, 2024 at 6? You do generally do yours at 6?
Yes. 30.
I don't even know.
6, just saying.
Just saying,
6:30.
yes, 6:30.
Right? I've been going to too many meetings. I apologize.
Yeah, so moved on that.
Okay, seconded by
Yeah, I'll second
Rufus. All right, all in favor? All right, passes 4-0, 1 absent. Mal, come on down and join Ben. Ben, you might as well stay there because the next section you'll have some info on too.
A question about the maps. Were you going to be getting hard copy only from the consultant, or were you going to be getting the spatial
Yeah.
map?
Everything
Answer,
we want.
Yes.
Very good. And is the current product available?
Electronically or just on print?
Oh, print be fine.
It's hard to read. It's kind of little, but
Well,
but you can.
Just if you, I'm
cut
sure
off a little bit,
Yeah.
but I don't have,
if you email Michael, he'll send you the link to
I have it. I can.
the big PDF.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, then moving on to 6C, the core zoning code changes. This is what I was thinking about.
Mhm.
Right.
So the timing of this one, the planning board met in workshop just last Thursday. So Michael was not able to, imagine that, get a full memo together, the same way he did with Shoreland, before my deadline of Thursday afternoon. So what he did provide for me on Friday morning was a summary of the proposed changes. A lot of it's repetitive because it's just cleaning up every district. I mean, I would argue that this is not a huge lift for us, in part because the majority of our zoning code is on the form-based approach, which doesn't preclude what the legislation was trying to fix. So we're kind of in a good place, assuming the town will be supportive of these changes.
Well, and I think we've all noticed in the newspaper, I think everybody's doing this right now.
Yes, it's all due by the end of the end of this fiscal year. So
Yeah.
we do need to vote on it in June.
Yeah. But so that people know, and this is mostly in response to what the state
Yeah.
is mandating that we do.
was,
Yeah,
We don't
LD
have
2003.
we don't have any
Yeah.
choice. Okay, good.
And I gave a at our meeting, comments here. I think I mentioned the meeting in which, I went into a deep dive of what LD 2003 is. That's from the. Boy, I write too much. January 22nd meeting. There's a broader explanation of what LD 2003 is, and that was shared here on that date. So if people are interested in learning more about what it is and why we have to do this, you can check that out.
Anyone have any questions? Al, you have anything on this one? Or anybody else? All right, then gonna double these up at your public hearing.
Yes, it'll be a fun night.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to schedule a planning board public hearing on the proposed amendments to the core zoning code ordinance for March 28th, 2024, here, 6:30. All right, seconded by Tom. All in favor? Or passes for nothing with one absence.
You said 20.
24, March 28th, 2024,
Thank you.
6:30.
I heard March 24th. I was confused. March 28th,
28th, yeah.
which is a Thursday.
At least that's what I wrote.
Yes.
It's
good.
happening, whatever Kevin wrote down. All right, Kevin, back to your town manager's report.
Sure. Great Salt Bay reached out at the end of last week and mentioned that they're proposing to switch from a community school district to
Yeah.
a regional school unit.
Unit.
There's a link in my memo that takes you to a proposal from the superintendent, including an organizational chart that explains it. There is a public hearing on March
30th?
20th at 5 o'clock.
20th.
So I'm going to go to that and then come here for 7 o'clock for our
I'm gonna do that too.
for our workshop.
Can we get snacks in between?
I think we will have to, yeah. So the interest, if you're interested to learn more, you can go to the link. You can also stop by the superintendent's office or contact your local school board members because they're fully aware of what's happening. The theory is it could save us some money and save some time on at least the administrative side of not having as many.
Seems like it would save a lot of time for the
For the superintendent, a
superintendent.
future superintendent, because
Yep.
Lindsay has announced her
Don't blame.
done at the end of this year. So it'll go from this particular switch would actually reduce the number of school boards from 4 to 1. So saving someone from having to go to 4 meetings and fewer meetings, right? Always good.
Well, and they were just saying the staff requirements for like grant applications, having to do 4 grant applications instead of 1 grant application for essentially the same amount of money.
Yeah. So some efficiencies created there.
Yeah.
And it has no impact on students or their education or anything. All administrative. Additionally, there's a letter of support in my report that I drafted last week. This is to try to go after $125,000 of DECD money to explore possible properties in both Damascotta and Newcastle. This is a joint application with the town of Damascotta to build workforce housing. And specifically, we're approaching it from first responders first, primarily looking at attracting volunteer firefighters, maybe at some point also looking at how we can help with CLC ambulance, find employees or be able to keep employees, retention of employees. And at some point, so we're looking at 4 sites and doing 2 in each town, and one of those 2 in each town would also have a rendering to go with it. So, hi, Peter.
Question.
Yeah,
Any target on number of units in this build out?
not at this time. It depends on the sites that are identified. I'll just say we're going to first identify the sites and then do some planning about
Got it,
what could
yeah.
actually be built there
Just curious.
based on the zoning. And then having Michael explore if zoning modifications have to happen to make it a better product or project. So, or feasible project for that matter. So, there's a very small amount. If this gets approved, it's probably about $1,200. So what, 1% of this whole thing would be on the hook, we'd be on the hook for it. So I don't, I want you to be aware that the letter went out. If we're awarded, I'll bring it back to you for your acceptance and recognition of what that might be. And some of it can be done in-house, so. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. Do we have input on, or do we have a review, I should say, of the proposed parcels?
No, we don't.
Okay.
You're welcome to share thoughts to me and we'll pass them on to whoever. We're gonna have to do an RFP to get a consultant to come in to do this, likely, that's the approach we'll take. But once that's in, we'll be asking for suggestions for sites.
We'll get info as it's developed.
Yep,
in other words.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and lastly, I'll just say a big thanks to the fire chiefs, to Emily and Laura at Else Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission, and Andy Dorr for making this happen.
Cool.
It's good. I just wrote a letter and I reviewed the application for
I'm
few
sure they'll-
tweaks,
they'll
but
get to it
mostly
later.
they did the work, so they deserve the credit. Last week, I also met with members of the Pedestrian Safety and Accessibility Coalition. It's a group of residents, mostly Damascotta residents, who advocate for mostly pedestrian, but also bicycle infrastructure and multimodal approaches to getting people around. They got wind of our VPI and said, hey, we want to share thoughts too. And we also are looking for Newcastle residents who are interested in coming to our meetings and participating. So I provided Anton's email here in the report. If you're interested in participating, give him reach out to him. And I'll note that PSAC is not a municipally recognized organization, but it's a local collaborative made up of residents advocating for and promoting walking and biking in the area. Nomination papers, they became available at the beginning of the month, and they'll be out till April 12th at noon. Submitted signatures need to be not less than 25 and no more than 100. Public notices have been put in the local papers, and we encourage people to apply or pick up papers and get them filled out, not apply. On a ballot. And then I have two additional updates to the agendas. The update on our priorities. We haven't looked at that since end of November. So this will mark 4 months. So I'd like to check in on that. What that also lines it up for is a June 2nd meeting in June of the select board, which is the new select board. So the new version of this group. So we'll be able to look at the priorities and potentially reset, figure out what needs to be modified then. And then the other one I have is the Harbor Master Ordinance. I just want to keep it on the radar screen. The goal would be to do a joint special town meeting with Damascotta, probably in late summer or fall. Hopefully we'll look at the shellfish conservation ordinance as well before that. Those are the two new ones.
Excellent. Yes, that brings us to our fiscal warrant. Do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 24/17 AP warrant in the amount of $128,610.71?
So moved.
Moved by Tor, seconded by Rufus. Anyone have any questions on it? Nope. All right. If there are none, all in favor? Passes 4-0 with 1 absent. Do I have a motion to go into executive session under, I don't know what this is, MRSA?
This is a consideration of real property acquisition.
So doesn't have to be under one of these things.
It's Title 4, it's Title 1, Section 405-6C.
C. Okay. Well, that's different. All right. Do I have a motion to an executive session on real property acquisition?
Yep.
Tor, seconded by Tom. All in favor? 4-0. Well, 1 absence. All right. Excellent.